Welcome, everyone. It's the Donovan Live postgame show right here on WKYC's Facebook Live on this Thursday evening. Alongside Jimmy Donovan, I'm Dave DiNatale. What a spirited discussion to kick off tonight's Donovan Live as you, Danielle Serino, and two other special guests came in to talk about the failed bid for Cleveland.
Sam Allard.
Yeah, did a great job talking about what went wrong in Cleveland's bid to try to bring Amazon's second headquarters here to town. And you know, first things first, whenever you have Danielle Serino on any panel, it's going to be explosive. But this was, I thought, a great way to kind of put a cap on the discussion today.
Word is that she is going to be brought in to the Mueller Russian probe hearings to liven them up.
That's right.
And I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I mean, to Sam Allard and Jay Miller, their feeling was it was never gonna happen. I mean, it was never ours to get. So to get eliminated before you even get it, the cut down to the 20, we're talking like it's a roster.
Right, exactly.
But, I mean, you know, we didn't make it to the final 20. Not a surprise because it just, even if we got there, it wasn't like we were going to get it.
Right.
Why weren't we going to get it? I think Danielle indicates that maybe it might have been a little lackadaisical bidding.
Yeah.
They indicate that there were, problems with the numbers of being able to, the 50,000 jobs and being, fill those jobs. But I mean, my question was to them, if you know that there's 50,000 potential jobs, aren't you going to get people to come into the city?
Right.
Anyway, it is interesting. It's too bad. I thought we were on a roll here.
Yeah,
but you wonder if this was winnable at the outset.
Right, and I understand Danielle's point that if you're going to be a part of it, if you're going to be one of the 238 cities or communities to go all in, aren't you going to go in with your best effort, with your best foot forward? And all along in the process, going back to October, it just felt like it was a lot of inside baseball, so to speak. A lot of things that were happening that weren't being talked about by city officials, to the point where, today when we got the news, Danielle went over to City Hall because nobody was picking up the phone to say, "Hey guys, help! What happened?" And of course, I may be like a foot and a half taller than Danielle Serino, but I don't want her coming at me with her camera in my face. I'd be like you said, I'd be go work for Bob Mueller. I'd be intimidated.
Yeah. And she brings up an interesting point too. Remember, this Mayor Jackson, was involved in a re-election campaign too. I mean, he's trying to hang on to his position. I mean, sometimes if you have a lot on your plate, maybe things
go by the wayside. Yeah, go down by the wayside.
I mean, we were so committed on other bids. I mean,
the RNC is obviously comes to mind.
Absolutely. Right. I mean, and remember, even 4 years before that, when it was thought that we might get an earlier convention. And we were right down to it, and then we used that experience to better the way we bid to get the last convention, which we of course won. And but the thing I think that's to me was it seemed as though we were on a real momentum to land things like this. Now this is different than getting a convention.
Yes.
I mean, a convention was 4 or 5 days of actual convention.
Right.
This is a plant. This is going to be 50,000 jobs. This is really long term into your community. Where physically are you going to put it in the community too? So a lot of things. I mean, we don't know really what was contained in the bid, our bid, because I think there's a veil of secrecy around it, and that's why people are saying, well, why don't we know what was in the bid, and then we can wonder. Maybe then we can understand why we didn't get it or what we could have done.
Because you felt like, for past things like RNC or, you and I were both at the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards when the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission is going in for something. It's usually very transparent. You have an idea. Hey, we're going for this. This is what we did. This is the meeting we had, or et cetera. By the way, here on Facebook Live, on the link here, we put a link there. You can see Danielle going into City Hall to try to get some answers, plus the panel discussion on Donovan Live. So I hope you take a look at the link. A lot of good stuff about some of the events that happened today.
And the other thing, she was going in to pay her water bill too.
She just happened to stop by Dan Williams' office.
Right, there you go.
And
knock, two birds with one stone.
That's right. You got to work. You got to work. Okay. So that's going on today. Then all of a sudden, on the football end of things, we've kind of heard inklings of the name Josh Allen from Wyoming. A couple of people have said, well, according to sources, the Browns are interested. According to sources, the Browns are interested. How about Mel Kiper Jr. in his first mock draft? And I want to emphasize, it's his first mock draft. He'll have about 20 of them. Our guy Tony Grossi has about 20 mock drafts. But in today's mock draft, Mel Kiper Jr. is projecting the Browns to take Josh Allen first overall. And by the way, Saquon Barkley, the running back from Penn State, at number 4.
I would love to get him.
Me too.
Let me tell you about Josh Allen. He's 6'5". Phil Savage came in to do his Sirius XM radio show during training camp last summer, and it was very early in the Browns training camp, and he came in, and I thought he was going to pitch me on all the Alabama players because Phil is the radio analyst on the Alabama Crimson Tide radio network. But instead, he was talking about nobody but Josh Allen. Now, he had just seen him, I think, at the Manning passing camp.
Yes, that's right.
He was there. He's 6'5", and in a lot of people's estimation, of all of the names that you're hearing in the quarterback class, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, and Josh Allen, okay, and I guess, you have to put Baker Mayfield in there too. This kid by far has the best arm. Now, Darnold's got a good arm. Rosen's got a really good arm. Mechanically, they say, as far as technique is concerned, perfect. But they say this kid's got the best arm.
Okay.
He's got the best arm. He grew up on a farm in California, on a huge farm in California. His desire was always to be a Fresno State Bulldog. He wanted to play at Fresno State. Coming out of high school, do you know, he did not get one NCAA Division I scholarship offer.
Wow.
Okay? So, disappointed at that, and maybe thinking about walking on at Fresno State. Instead, he went to a junior college for a year and still thought maybe at that point, I'll get the offer to go to Fresno State. No offer from Fresno State, but he gets the offer from Wyoming because there was an offensive coordinator with him I think maybe at the junior college that went to Wyoming, and he wanted him, and he went there. He broke his collarbone the first time that he went out and played. I think he only played 2 games, and he broke his collarbone. But then he had a really good next year, and then this past year, now they graduated some players off the team from 2 years ago, so he didn't have. It's kind of the Deshaun Kaiser story at Notre Dame. He had lost some offensive linemen, some wide receivers. So his numbers, you could argue, weren't great last year. He's 56% completion. Yep. He owes a great deal of gratitude to Carson Wentz.
Yes,
because of the Carson Wentz phenomenal, entrance into the NFL out of North Dakota State. Now opens the door that a guy like Josh Allen gets a lot of extra looks. Now, you'll be able to see him in the Senior Bowl.
Right.
So, Browns fans,
watch closely. Watch closely.
Yeah.
Watch closely.
So that's the story on him.
It's interesting because, and this is
you
how
enjoy the farm part.
The farm story is great. I mean,
it was over a 1,200-acre farm that was owned by his family.
But listen, it's not the Donovan farm with awesome horses.
There were some. It was even bigger. It might have been 3,000 acres, but 1,200 was devoted to hay.
Oh.
Well, I wanted to. I did some research.
Yeah, I was saying this is you won't get.
I mean, I'm not over at City Hall knocking on doors, but I'm reading about Josh Allen.
It's interesting because this is how this is going to work. I mean, next
it's going to be the flavor of the month.
Right.
Next,
you're right. In 10 days or 2 weeks, Todd McShay could say, "Okay, I've got the Browns taking Darnold." And it's gonna. This is the first kind of salvo, so to speak, in how this is going to play out between now and April.
Now, here's the other thing that Mel Kiper might have been clued into. There is a story out there that says that when John Dorsey was in between jobs, after the Kansas City release, and he was waiting for his next stop, which eventually was Cleveland, he was still doing a lot of scouting because that's how he got into the business, at least this level. He's a super scout. I mean, he's a personnel guy, and he saw Josh Allen and really liked him and told somebody, I really like Josh Allen. So once he came, was named the Browns general manager, a lot of people said, I remember there was a day where he said he liked Josh Allen, and that might be part of the attraction that would have you putting him in your mock draft at the top.
So we'll keep an eye on that as we go forward here, and we'll certainly be talking quarterbacks. Last thing I wanted to bring up with you, there was so much going on last night at the Greater Cleveland Sports Awards, and I hope you had a chance to read Matt Florjancic's rundown and some of the pieces that we had on the kids who won. It was really, we got a chance to talk to all the winners last night. It was great. And it's funny, the kid who won male high school player of the year, Mr. football for Ohio, Joey Bauman, the quarterback from Wadsworth. It's interesting. I'm just hearing you talk about Josh Allen. Joey Bauman is an all-state wrestler.
Yeah.
And had an opportunity. He had a scholarship. He told us last night, had a scholarship to go to the University of Virginia and wrestle for the Cavaliers. But he really, after he put up just tremendous numbers, won Mr. Football, led Wadsworth to an undefeated regular season, had 56 total touchdowns between running and passing. He really wanted to give football another chance. He decommitted from Virginia and went around, and it was not getting a bunch of offers for football. Elon University, smaller, but still Division I or FBS or whatever, gave him an opportunity. He went down there to visit and loved it, loved the campus. His family loved it, and he's going to have a football scholarship to play at Elon University.
Will he wrestle? No,
I don't think so. Yeah. He's going for the state championship this year. He's been our state runner-up before. Oh. So, but he really has kind of put his chips in for football. But it's just interesting to hear that sometimes when you give yourself another opportunity and you say, look, I'm not done yet. I want to give myself a shot at this. Like Josh Allen, good things can happen. We got a chance to all talk to Joe Thomas last night. He was in the gaggle group with the media, spent a few moments with us at our table. What did you get out of hearing about Joe? Besides the fact he plugged the Tomahawk podcast about 20 times, which he's very proud of it. He and Andrew Hawkins do this podcast.
Can I just jump in there?
Yes.
That is a funny team.
It is.
Andrew Hawkins and him. But
it is. If you haven't had a chance to listen
have you
yet,
listened to it?
I have. I have. It's fun. I think Joe Thomas is a very good storyteller, and he's got a bit of snark to him, which is I think he's discovered the joy of Twitter, and I think that's been part of it. To me, I asked him about, well, look, you've got this decision where you have no shortage of opportunities in one hand to go back, to find something else to do post-playing career, media. I said people want you for a coach, personnel, whatever, farming, farming and fishing, farming, whatever.
There's a lot of land out in California.
Right, exactly. So you've got that in one hand, but on the other hand, you're a professional, you're a competitor. I can't imagine you want to stop coming off of an 0-16 season and leaving with a season-ending injury. And he said, well, it's going to come down to my health, and can I survive another season? But he just said, without us asking, he said, but I love football. I love being a competitor, and I still think I can play at a high level. Which I thought was which I took as, okay, maybe he's leaning in that football playing direction. But
I took his in a different group than you talking to him at your table there last night. When he was with the group of media, the more I listened to him, and it was lengthy, I took that I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play, which would change their draft strategy a great deal. I'm not saying that they would pick a tackle at 1 or a tackle at 4, but I do believe early in the second round they better take a tackle. And they maybe should do that anyway. Yeah. Because even if Joe comes back next year, I don't think he's coming back the following year after.
No, I don't either. I
really don't. So the more he talked, I just felt he made an interesting point about the injury. The injury that he has, the bicep, okay, he's not worried about that injury. No. It's his back
and his knee.
That have bothered him, chronically throughout, since 2007, I think he said. And so you wonder about that. I mean, he looks very different. You would admit that.
Yeah.
Okay. He looks very. He's lost a lot of weight.
He's lost a lot of weight. There. Yeah. We're going to see him in a second here. Our conversation. There he is. Yeah. You can see. I mean, he's talking to Ben Axelrod, yours truly, and Matt Florjancic. I mean, he looked like he lost like 25, 30 pounds.
I mean, it's hard for me.
And it's not just the beard, folks.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's right there. As I look at the size there, I say to myself, which one is Ben Axelrod? Which one is Joe Thomas? In that, I mean, that's how. But he has lost weight now. That's expected because he's not lifting weights,
right?
And he's not going to be able to do any kind of football activities. At the very earliest, it would be June or July, which is training camp.
And he said he understands. He understands the Browns need to know.
Yeah, he'll let
for
them
free
know.
agency and draft
absolutely.
purposes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
there's no pressure on him, but he also understands. Hey, look, the Browns can't wait forever for an answer.
Now, remember the other thing, Dino, is that the Browns very shrewdly, gave him a little raise.
Yes.
When he got hurt, which was, they didn't have to do that.
That was like one of Sashi Brown's last moves.
Yeah, it might have been his last move. But anyway, they kicked him about $3 million or something.
Exactly.
Right in that range. That's a nice get well, get better kind of gift. So, I mean, the Browns, I think, are doing everything they possibly can to at least, atmospherically around that building say, hey, we're on the move. He was excited about John Dorsey and the people that John Dorsey has brought in, Elliott Wolf, Alonzo Highsmith, the scouting department being reorganized. He likes Hugh Jackson.
Yes.
I mean, he loves Hugh
Jackson. He's made no bones about that.
So I really do believe it comes down to his body and his family situation. And does he want to do this? Go through the rigors of the, rehabbing that injury and getting ready to play again. Yeah. I don't think he's there yet.
Right, I think you make a point. If he comes back, I do think it's for one more year because his whole thing was, I have to see if I can survive another year of football. So if it comes back, it would probably be for a last waltz. Last thing, I promise this last thing. AFC NFC championships this weekend. Who do you like? Patriots, Jags, and of course the Vikings and the Eagles.
Well, at the beginning of the year, I said that there's no doubt Jacksonville will be in the AFC.
Of course you did. Of course.
Do you realize, I remember we were down in Tampa getting ready for the third preseason game, the dress rehearsal game.
Indeed.
Okay, and I was studying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But the week before, they had played Jacksonville, okay? And Blake Bortles was so bad in that game that they didn't know if he was even going to make the team.
Right.
Never mind be their starting quarterback. But then in their next game, which would have been their third game, the guys that they put in played, equally as bad. So they figured, well, we're paying this guy, Blake Bortles, so we'll start him. It's an amazing story. I got to tell you, it's Tom Coughlin, changing the mentality of the Jacksonville Jaguars to be a tough team. And it's not just defensively, but to be tough offensively. That you don't get pushed around anymore. It's a mentality, and he's done that wherever he's gone. He did it in Jacksonville when they were
coach the first time.
an expansion team. The second year they were in existence, they played the Patriots in the AFC Championship game and led, I believe, at halftime before losing to Bill Parcells and Drew Bledsoe in that game. He did it with the Giants. He's the guy that beat the Patriots twice. He's the guy that denied them of the undefeated championship season. So. I think New England's going to win the game. Congratulations. But, that's an amazing story. But I do believe, New England. Now, I know Brady's injured his hand. So that's a subplot, maybe a big plot in the game. But I still I cannot see New England losing at home. But I have to tell you, I didn't see Pittsburgh losing.
No, I didn't either. So.
I hope it's a good game.
Yeah.
Now, the other game is fascinating to me.
Nick Foles v. Case Keenum.
Keenum. I mean, again, exactly the way I picked it at the beginning of the year. I was amazed at Philadelphia winning that game last week against Atlanta. And they deserved to win the game because I thought through the body of the game, the whole game, they really were better than Atlanta in that game.
I know.
They took it to them all game long. But I don't know if they're going to be able to muster up enough offense there.
Yeah.
And this Minnesota defense is really good. I mean, Mike Zimmer is a brilliant coach, a guy that interviewed here.
Yeah.
And I really think that defense is incredible. Here's the amazing thing: have they come back down to earth after that game against New Orleans last week?
Yeah.
Because Dino, they could come out as flat as a pancake. Because of everything they expended in the celebration of Stephon Diggs catching that pass against the Saints. I'm going to say they're going to win the game. I think Minnesota's going to win the game. And I think the fact that even if it's an outdoor game, it's going to be 45, 50 degrees there in Philly. And they're a good road team.
So for the first time in Super Bowl history, we're actually going to have a team playing the game in their home stadium.
Right.
Wow.
I think that's going to happen.
Wow.
I think they're going to win the game. I would have loved to have seen Carson Wentz play in this game.
Me too.
I really would have loved to have seen Carson Wentz play in the game.
It's amazing. All four of these head coaches have some kind of a Browns connection. Doug Peterson played for the Browns. Bill Belichick obviously coached the Browns. Doug Marrone interviewed for the job. You know, he was around that because he was that around the Chudzinski when they interviewed him, and then he ended up going to Buffalo instead.
Yeah,
I believe that was
might
right.
Have been, yeah. They all run together. I mean, it wasn't the Petten one. I don't think
it was either. I think it was the.
Because he was the head coach of the Bills.
Yeah,
he said to the Browns, "Hey, if you're going to hire Mike Petten, can you do it today? Because if he's going to get hired, I need to get a defensive coordinator." Yeah. They were down at the Senior Bowl.
That's right.
And they were trying to figure out who their coaching. I think you're right.
But I think they talked to him, and as soon as the Chip Kelly thing went bad. I think they tried Marrone, but Buffalo had gotten him before the Browns could. And then, of course, as you mentioned, another guy the Browns interviewed, Mike Zimmer, and didn't get. So
Mike Zimmer, interesting story.
Yeah.
Mike Zimmer had gotten an interview with the Browns and thought that he did very, very well.
Sure he did.
And he thought he was on his way for a second interview. Mm-hmm. So I was in contact with Dave Lapham, who is the radio analyst of the Cincinnati Bengals and very plugged into what's going on down there in Cincinnati and around that team. And I called him up and I said, "Dave, what do you think?" And he goes, "Well, first of all, he'd be a phenomenal coach." Yeah. And I thought he would be, because I thought he did a great job down in Cincinnati with that defense. And he said he really thinks he did very well. And I said, "Well, they're about ready to go to second interviews." And this was like on a Thursday night, okay? And he's waiting by the phone thinking he's going to get the call to come to Cleveland for a second interview. And he had gotten a lot of head coaching interviews, but had never really gotten past, the first interview. And, I can remember being in the sports department that night saying, "Hey, I think we should pull a lot of video of Mike Zimmer because I think he's going to get the second interview." And an hour later, they hired Rob Chudzinski. And now you know the rest of the story.
Now you know the rest of the story. All right. Jimmy, have a great weekend.
You too.
We'll see you back here next week. Again, if Danielle Serino comes walking in your door, if she comes walking in, our best advice, just go the other way.
Look, you be doing your laundry.
Yeah. You can turn. You can turn that off.
Wow, there you go.
All right.
Yep.
For David Herberton, the master, for Danielle Serino, for Jimmy Donovan, I'm Dave DiNatale. Thanks so much for watching the Donovan Live postgame show right here on WKYC's Facebook Live.